Hello, Coach Anush Gagua here. Welcome to Your Better Life with Anush TV, the place to be to start creating the kind of life and business you've always wanted. Basically, your go-to every week for your success, healthy lifestyle, and transformation. So, what do you want to create for you and the people you love in your life? Is it more money? Is it more fun? Is it more energy? Is it more love? Is it more kindness? Maybe it is more passion. You know, passion is the fuel of life, and I even have a bracelet for it that says, live with passion. And because without passion, life is very dull and boring. Without passion, life is just a job. And without passion, you are pretty much less alive. So, my question to you is this. How much passion have you got in your life and in your business? And why is it a must to pursue your passion versus settling for what others think you should be doing with your life? And I've promised to you to bring to you real-time, highly successful people that follow their heart and passion. And today, I've got the perfect guest for you. It's my dear friend, Millennial Michael K. Kashishian. He's a young entrepreneur who owns and runs one of LA's hottest event venues. It's called Vertigo, and it has been featured in Grace magazine and in a lot of other places. But what makes Michael K. Kashishian extraordinary is his love for connecting people. And he's been doing that with cooking and celebratory events and a lot more. My guest today is fearless, devoted, grateful, and blessed human being, Michael K. Kashishian. This program is brought to you by Gagua Group International, doing business development, branding, and online marketing for your success. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Anush. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Last time, I'm so happy I bumped into you at the fitness club, and they invited me and my husband to come and check out your space. And we were taken away by the energy and the beauty of the place. What really, really struck me, though, was the way you introduced us to your team and the energy and the synergy that was there. So how do you manage to have 60 people come to work every single day with so much excitement and joy to work?
It's a good question. Well, first of all, it's important for you to distinguish the difference between a work environment and a family environment. And I didn't try to reinvent the wheel, Anush. I come from a household of a plethora of love. And I noticed that there were certain tactics, intentional or unintentional, my mom and dad would use to keep my sister and I so close. My sister is my partner. And when we started our company 7 years ago, we promised ourselves that we would create a catering operation that acted more like a family than a business, more like a movement than a company. And we took all of the characteristic traits of our household and we implemented them into our business. So like my mom is always calling me John and Jigar and Balas, and my father has been so warm, and my uncles and my aunts, we've always during holidays created such a loving environment that we thought, why couldn't we take similar tactics and implement them into a business to make our team feel comfortable? And you know, we don't have any titles in our business.
And that's really something that I was fascinated by, how every title, like every person that is in the top management had a title of being a human being.
Totally. Because ultimately we're all born human beings. And you know, that's the only title we can carry. In the career world, you know, like one day you're head of this department, the other time you're the chief of this, one person is a role player, someone else is a manager. These are just responsibilities, they're not titles. And they create a difference in between the way people interact with each other and treat each other, and we don't want that to happen. So in our workplace, everyone's a human being, and we introduce each of our team members as brothers and sisters.
And that's a great space to be in and for people to flourish. Yet, what are some of the, you know, have you ever had employees that really they take it for granted and they don't underwrite to be a part of family?
Anush, I think any level of innovation, anything epic, anything heroic in life comes with a byproduct of problems. And yes, some people, they misinterpret that level of comfort. Some people are looking for titles and are looking for power and management. And we have our own tactics of how we're able to give people that same feeling of being respected Because if you have an employee that's been with you for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they're well versed and they're knowledgeable and they carry tons of really important responsibilities, well, you don't want them to feel like they're being appreciated.
They don't matter, yeah.
Yeah, as much as someone that just came in that's going to be doing a janitorial position or a server position, that they're here one day and they may be moving on to a different business, because there is a revolving door in the hospitality business. You have people in your team that are pillars and are core people. And I'm fortunate to have people with me that are by my side that consider this their life. And then you have people who, you know, are aspiring actors, models, photographers, and for them this is a secondary format of income. And while we want to treat everybody like equals and we want to make sure everybody is motivated to come to work, I think just like running a family, see, like my mom treated me differently than she treated my sister. Because I had different personality traits and she had different personality traits. So I went to certain schools, she went to certain schools. I was rewarded with certain types of, you know, materials, and she was rewarded with different types of materials. Because my mom understood that, yeah, okay, the level of love is equal, the passion is equal, the appreciation is equal, but how you organize a family, you know, is how you organize a business.
And so, how you give everyone what they need, and they also know what's expected of them.
Absolutely. So, you know, yes, you know, there are challenges with running such a family-like corporate business, but those are challenges that we, you know, we take in stride and we handle gracefully.
And I have seen that, So one of the things that you talk a lot is the importance of having family, and I know that your sister and you are partners in this. Tell me more in terms of how your family has shaped, aside from what you just shared a few minutes ago, how has that really translated into business success for you?
Well, you know, I think of the many important fundamentals, the one that the family can give you the most of is compromise and patience. Because you see, outside of the family, something about the way our human psychology works is we think that we can like interchange friends and jobs. Your favorite restaurant you can stop going to and go somewhere else. But in our family, you know, we don't see our relationship being that way. It's not like, oh, well, you know, this sister's gone, the next sister's in.
It's there to stay.
They're there to stay.
Yeah.
And if you really take that and you carry that responsibility, not loosely, but if you take it as a serious responsibility, where you wake up every day and you know that keeping your family healthy and happy is one of your main priorities, you learn and you develop patience and compromise. So having that level of patience and compromise, I then took into my business, and I used the exact same format to be patient with an employee that may be thinking that something needs to be changed in the way we run our policies. Having a manager that has an idea of making an adjustment to something, and us having to compromise in our viewpoints. Like, I use those tactics, and I call them tactics because I do them intentionally. Because some people, you know, they don't like calling, you know, relationships tactical. But a relationship has to be tactical. If you just run by the seat of your pants and you take your emotions and instincts, you're not always going to get the best results.
You've got to be intentional, but also impactful, beyond intention.
Absolutely.
So that's very beautiful. You know, you have a pretty extravagant lifestyle, and I've seen it on Facebook, and I've seen you in certain settings. Yet you have a lot of humility about that. Did you not have that extravaganza around you, and let's say you had to create everything from scratch, do you think you would still be that way?
You know, because of how involved I was in the development of my parents' business before we had more of the success that we have now, I developed the understanding that products and materials, they're superficial, by being very perceptive of the way my parents lived. So even though when I became an adult, I wasn't working from the ground up the way they did, I didn't allow that to taint my connection to things. So, you know, maybe if I had this royal upbringing and I had a silver spoon in my mouth from day one, I may have had a different personality and a different perspective. But for me, it came very natural. Cars, watches, private jets, houses, lofts and buildings and jewelry, these are all things that we're borrowing. They're here one day, they're gone the next. And I don't put value to them. I enjoy them, I appreciate them, especially because many of them were developed by man. And very creative, innovative people develop the technologies that we enjoy today. So I don't push them away and just hug trees and play my guitar and eat dried figs all day. But at the same time, my life doesn't revolve around things. It revolves around people and their emotions.
I like that. Your life doesn't revolve around things, it revolves around people.
Of course.
So you've been in, you've had this thing, Vertigo this amazing space for 2 years now, and it's quite successful. What have you learned that someone that's watching us and is passionate about creating this beautiful event space, they have passion for it, yet they don't really have the tactics or the strategy or the resources in place? What would you say to these people?
Celebrations are so specific. And I've realized that you have to understand that every single person, based on their background, based on what they consider beautiful or consider ugly, based on what they consider nasty or yummy, has their own unique perspective as to how they would draw up their perfect celebration. So being open to understanding each human being individually is what makes for our success. Is that not every party at Vertigo is the same. Yeah, we're big on Hollywood Regency, modern glam, and black and white and grayscale. But overnight, we'll turn our building into a jungle if we have a client that feels like that's what they draw towards most. Same with food. Yeah, a lot of our food we think is great. But if clients at tastings, they want to see something different, we don't carry that so close to heart. So I think if you're going to decide to be in the business or in the industry of events and celebrations, you have to put your own ego aside and remember that your job is to make your guests happy. Mm-hmm. And as a host, if they're happy, you're happy. That's it.
Gotcha. And when I first met you, it was years ago, and you were doing your first catering thing, and I remember you very vividly. When you came in, we had very strong presence, and you brought your creations, and you had so much passion back then. And now years later, you're doing this as a business, and you have so much prosperity around that. Why are you so passionate about that?
Anush, passion is something that you have to strive for. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, it's a developed muscle. If you allow yourself to just instinctually develop passion, sometimes your passion is something that ends up failing you.
And it will shrink.
And it may shrink, and it may grow. My passion comes from the fact that I have purpose. Mm-hmm. And those are two different things, but they're connected. So a lot of people tell me, oh, you're so passionate, and I take that with a grain of salt, and I appreciate that. I take it as a compliment. But I'm more purposeful than I'm passionate.
Yes.
My passion comes from the fact that I feel like I'm doing mm-hmm. what I was designed to do. Mm-hmm. So while I'm doing those things, sometimes I may be handling a task or a responsibility that I'm not extremely passionate about. Mm-hmm. But because I live with purpose, I have a passion in my day-to-day because I know that I'm not wasting my time. Mm-hmm. What I've gathered from human beings in my short time on planet Earth is that there are very few things that are more frustrating to humans than when you take time from them. Some experiences are more impactful than others. Some dining experiences are more amazing than others. But if you take someone's time and you mm-hmm. waste someone's time, and there's no one that could waste your time more than yourself.
Absolutely.
It's yes. your own decisions that dictate how resourceful you are with your time. You start to become confused and you get into an emotional state of limbo. I'm not wasting any time. I know what my purpose is. My job is to make the world a place to be enjoyed as though it's one big party, not a party that begins or ends. So to me, as I walk into work every day, even though there may not be any guests there, the party is still on. It's still lights, camera, action. This whole thing has to be fun. And that's where my passion comes from. And that day that we first met, when you saw me presenting the food, the passion didn't come from the fact that I thought I made the best food in the world. Mm-hmm. I wasn't completely convinced that these 5 or 10 items were these unforeseen items. I was convinced that I was on a path to deploy my purpose, and that's to feed the masses with more than just food, but with love and energy.
So food is just a metaphor for love and energy and
completely.
Connection, pretty much,
it's
right?
It's just a mechanism.
Have you had that purpose from the very beginning?
I want to say yes, Anush, because that would be like my, prideful answer.
Yeah.
But that isn't the case. It was something I had to develop. It's through trial and tribulation. I think some of the most aggressive people are the ones who have the life most full of purpose because they go through the shortcomings, the pitfalls. I was always a very aggressive young person. I'd try everything. I'd run for every type of office in school. Any committee that would be built, I would be the first person to sign up. I'm always ready to try something. And after a while, I tried enough things where I caught on to what I'm most effective in. And I'm most effective in a party environment.
In a party, celebration.
Celebration, exactly.
Beautiful. So purposeful passion, that's very important. The source of energy, does that come from your purpose? Does that come from your passion? Or do you really have a set of rituals that you go through every single day to put yourself in that resourceful state?
That's a great question. And that's something that I would say, of all of my efforts, is the one that I focus on the most. Because we live in a physiological world. Now, as much as our minds and our state of consciousness is something that we're focusing on more than ever, how do I feel? Oh my goodness, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, I want to do this, I haven't achieved this. This person has this and I don't have this. And that's clouding a lot of our consciousness. But at the end of the day, this beautiful mind of ours, it lives in a vessel. We live in a physical world. Our respiratory system, our metabolism, our fitness, our blood flow, our circulation, you know, the body is something that I think is where our energy comes from. Energy that comes from passion, it's like a balloon. It's full and it's empty. But energy that comes from health is something that you can lean on. So, you know, I'm not the most healthy person like anybody else. You know, I've experimented with different habits of eating and drinking.
You're zigzagging, you go to this Armenian event and boom.
You eat 10 dolma because the grape leaves look greener than they do at your house, you know? So my answer to your question, Anush, is I think understanding that health and fitness are at the forefront of your success is you know, the sooner you do that, then the quicker you reach your goals.
And Tony Robbins talks about the triad, which is your body, what you do with your body, and then the kind of words you use, and he calls it transformational vocabulary, and I love that. Like, how are you feeling? Amazing, outstanding, okay, or you know?
Totally.
And then also the focus. Where do you put your focus on every single day? So passion, purpose, you know, physiology, taking care of your body. Let's talk about this. What's next for you? I know you have, you know, a lot of things going on, but what is next for you, and what are some of your ways of contributing?
Great question. You know, we're always thinking about what's next in our business. So much so that we almost plan 2 or 3 nexts before we plan the first next. At this phase of our business, I think it's fair to say that we're on a mastery phase. So in the last 7 years, we've gone into expansion, adding new services, new locations, purchasing a building, adding new brands. Now we're about becoming the best at this. So it's about implementing, you know, training programs, policies and procedures, traveling, researching, learning, and trying to take the idea of housing people in your space versus going to their space to host a celebration and become the best at that. But beyond that, which is something that I feel guaranteed is going to happen, and we're on a path for. Next is to now take what we do and put it on a stage. You know, a lot of what we do that makes the hospitality world so special, believe it or not, Anush, happens when the guests are not there. It's behind the scenes in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's the preparation.
It's the preparation, it's the meetings. That's really the magic. Once it all comes together, you know, it's fun and it's great, but, you know, I think it's not completely understood unless you see it. So our plan as far as what's next is to now expose the lifestyle of people like myself who have dedicated their lives to hospitality and to put us on a stage. And we want to take our kitchen and put it on a stage. We want to start, you know, showing video footage of our clients and their lifestyles, and reiterate to people that, you know, we're all just human beings roaming the planet, discovering things.
And life is what you make it, and it is completely up to you to make it beautiful and joyful and full of celebration versus just surviving.
Totally, yeah. Absolutely.
And I had, you know, if you were to do anything differently, what have you learned in the past, you know, as a result of your experiences in the business world?
You know,
what are your top 3 distinctions?
All right, if I had to give you a top 3, Anush, which I live a lifestyle where I always believe that everything I did for the right reasons, because if I failed, I learned, and if I did a good job, then great.
I like the attitude.
But if I had to give you a top three, I would say number one is be more selective. I think when we start new businesses, we're so excited and we have all these goals to expand, and we become a little bit loose and quick to hire people and to hire clients, because ultimately your clients are people that you should be interviewing too. So I think if I could have traced back the hands of time, I may have been more selective with the way I did that. Secondly, I think making goals that are extreme, but then having realistic backup plans. I noticed this in a lot of the young entrepreneurial spirits that I consult. That you have like, I want to do this, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and then this will happen, and that will happen, and you draw the
there are lots of ifs.
Yeah. And then, but you don't always have a, but if this doesn't happen, I'm going to do this, and if that doesn't happen, I'm going to do this. So the plan B, plan C.
Yeah.
I got lucky. Most of my plan A's, they worked out just as I had planned. And the few times they didn't, I had a plan B.
And you had a plan C too.
And I had a plan C. But I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that I can give anybody. And
I love that, because that gives the choice to people, versus when everything is in there, then it's kind of, sometimes it's even desperate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Life is a windy road. It's not a straight path.
You gave me two. What is your third distinction?
And my third one is to never lose track of the fact that while we know that we're the most important person in our lives, that doesn't mean that we're the most important person in life. And staying very humble and non-ego driven in everything we do is really on a big picture level, as far as the universe is concerned, is something that I think you get rewarded for. And we see a lot of the lack thereof. People now correlate success with becoming snooty, with becoming self-centered. And there's nothing about success that requires you to do that.
What is success to you?
To me, success is happiness. A happy person is a successful person.
A lot of times there's a stereotype that in order to be successful, especially financially successful in the business world, you got to be me, you got to be pushy, you got to be an asshole pretty much, right? So have you ever been tempted to be any of this, to be successful? Because it's pretty much the antidote of what you're doing.
Anush, I'm tempted by those things every day. That's what makes waking up such a beautiful challenge, is knowing that as you try to project love and happiness and positivity to the world is going to give you endless opportunities to do the lack thereof. So keeping that as a conscious effort is key, because there's people that can be nice for a day, nice for an hour, nice when they get a raise, happy when something happens. That's reactive happiness. I'm talking about instigating happiness, which is a completely different science. Is being the one that makes the happiness. Being the creator of happiness versus the consumer of happiness. Yes? You want people to walk away after crossing paths with you to be happy because they crossed paths with you. And that's a whole nother science, like I said. Beautiful, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate what you're putting and creating out there in the world. And I love your energy, and I really can't wait to see what you will create next. Thank you, Anush. The feeling is mutual. My pleasure. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I would love to hear from you. What is your takeaway from today's conversation with this amazing entrepreneur, Mike K. Keshishian? And what have you been able to create in your life because you feel innately passionate and purposeful about it? Please leave your comments at anushgagua.com, and if you like this video, please give your thumbs up and share it with your friends. And until next time, remember that life is what you make it, so make your life outstanding.
This program is brought to you by Gagua Group International, doing business development, branding, and online marketing for your success.